Everyone, I feel very smart sitting like this. I'm missing the shirt and the cat, but otherwise I have that smart feeling going, so that's really good. So on this one, I want to talk about a bit about glutamate, because glutamate as the non-essential amino acid, right? But as the number one excitatory neurotransmitter, it's the, I don't know if it's a key log of the whole thing, but man, is it an important system, right? So in the course that I'm putting together, I explained that glutamate will link to specific parts of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, where the sense of me exists, hypothalamus on one side, that's where the orexin neurons that will help toward the production of noradrenaline. With glutamate goes to the osteoblast to produce osteocalcin. So it goes on and on and on. There is no sympathetic reaction without glutamate. There is no acute stress reaction without glutamate. So it's a major player. And so acute stress and glutamate are linked together. What's very interesting about that is it's called a non-essential amino acid because we produce it naturally. So that's very important. What is extremely important about this is we can also find it in food. So that becomes a big one. So that means that the entire excitatory system, the acute stress system, has a foot with food, has a foot in with food. Right, so what does that mean? Right, so that becomes, all this becomes intertwined. I'll go into the main points. Like, I don't want to go too much into details because then practice becomes a part. I think I'll go into details far more during the nutrition course where I'll start to adapt and explain glutamate and GABA for sleeping. For example, REM sleep versus deep sleep and how to play with those. But there's always a moment where I want to explain, but I don't want to go past certain points because then practice becomes necessary, right? Where that understanding on a conceptual level is not enough anymore. Practice becomes very important, right? So I'm going to lay the foundation here, but when it comes to understanding it better, practice becomes necessary, and that's why it will be done through guided courses, right? So, but what I want to talk about is food and the acute stress system, therefore. So certain foods are very high in what is called free glutamate. So for example, casein is one. And that will explain why casein has such an effect on vivid dreams, because vivid dreams are part of the REM sleep, which is part of an expression of the sympathetic nervous system, energy spent toward the outside. So you could see how free glutamate in casein and that expression in REM sleep matters so much, right? So, but if I want deep sleep, it's going to be the opposite of that. So then magnesium works. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that start to get together in very interesting aspect. But there are also other foods like, so cheese, because of the casein, cheese like Parmesan is the one that has a lot of free glutamate. So glutamate is one thing. So does that mean I want glutamate in my food? Well, that's the thing. Glutamate is neither good or bad. Glutamate has a function, and the function is to assist acute stress. So if I have a lot of glutamate, does that mean I'm going to go sympathetic? Well, no. It just means that if I keep ingesting glutamate all the time, I'm going to have the capacity to go toward a response to acute stress. Is that a good thing? Well, yeah. If I have an acute stress, let's say training, if the bear is coming, for example, right, I need to have a proper response toward acute stress. If I want to train correctly, right, I need to have a proper response to acute stress. So in that sense, glutamate is going to help me. But that's not the only way to have an acute stress response. If I stress out at work, if I get stressed out in relationship, if my answer to any problem in the world is an overblown reaction, then having massive amount of glutamate that I'm using toward that acute stress response might become a problem, right? So you could see how food in that sense could influence your response, not create a response, but influence your response, where maybe your reaction is a little bit past what it should be, right? And so food there would not be the only, by the way, reason. You have to understand that this is behavior first, right? So that you are training yourself to react a certain way. Behavior first. But that means that food is a player in that equation as well, right? So we see that with autistic children, right, where a free glutamate helps with the symptoms. That does not mean you should see glutamate as responsible for the symptoms of autism. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that a free or a low glutamate diet can help with some of the symptoms, because then the symptoms won't be as humongous as they are if you have a lot of glutamate, because glutamate helps having an excitatory response. See what I'm saying? Right? You have to understand, correlation is not causation. It's very important to understand this. Feedback loop, right? Not deterministic universe. Another part that is very interesting here is MSG, right? MSG, so it's monosodium glutamate, is a salt that is being used everywhere now. You see it a lot in seaweed. That's actually how it was found out, was in Japan, where they realized that with seaweed, so sushi, when you had seaweed, you just made people like eat more and more and more. The reason is because they found out that MSG, which normally comes naturally in seaweed and specific places, has specific qualities. Right. And so what they found out, of course, welcome to capitalism, is that they produce MSG and put it in the food. You'll eat more of it. Well, yeah, because it turns out that that glutamate relates directly, for example, to the hypothalamus, where the orexin neurons are, that relates directly to feeding behaviors. Wakefulness behavior, feeding behavior. In the hypothalamus, where the orexin neurons are, that will lead toward production of noradrenaline, but that is directly where we see what the glutamate level raises in a term of acute stress. So that means that through the MSG, they are finding a way to trigger feeding behaviors, which is why they put it on those chips with the salt to make you finish the whole goddamn box, right? So there's a book that were written about this, which I forgot the name, but I'll put the link under here, that explain how the whole entire industry, and that we're talking 50 years ago, because that's been at least that long, has figured out that trigger. So the problem is that, first of all, MSG then is we're playing with an excitatory system. So imagine how dangerous that is, right? So that means that you could see how this and anxiety as a function of acute stress, or trying to get you toward an acute stress, that's another video I'm going to make, right, would relate to MSG. So is it possible that since the last 40, 50 years, we've been pumping glutamate in every single part of the food, we are creating a world more prone to anxiety? It is my belief. Are we making the symptoms of autistic kids harder with MSG and stuff like that? Yes. I do believe we are creating a world where I don't want to say sympathetic response, because it's not exactly that, where the excitatory response is far easier to get. So you take that on the food side and you put social media on the other, right? And you combine the two together and you get a nasty combination. How could we not have raising amounts of anxiety? And I believe the food there will be one of the causes, not the main cause, right? Again, the excitatory system is there for a good reason. You need it. You don't want to suppress glutamate. But the key is to deal with it correctly. And therefore, the food will be, again, something that we do not want to use as a crutch or a fix. But we do want to control it so that we don't end up out of whack on the other side of it, right? And that's what the course that I'm doing in June on the protocol is going to be about, which means we're going to, because if you look, the protocol was always about signals, right? Sleep and signals. So I'm going to start to go toward the glutamate and the GABA toward the excitatory response to influence sleep, right? And obviously signals. How far are we going toward that excitatory response, right? And the acute stress response is the one that matters so much in the body, because that's the one that allows us to stay alive when the bears were coming. And that's why we're playing with. So you could see why anxiety is an issue in today's society just from that side alone. And there are many other sides, right? So all this is going to be part of an effort to understand anxiety. A lot of people want to deal with anxiety, and there's many courses out there that talk about this, but no effort is spent understanding what it is no effort. Little effort seems to be spent on understanding what it is. If you don't understand what anxiety is, you will not be able to deal with it correctly. And so one of the aspects of dealing with that correctly is going to be through food, and then that's what I'm going to start implementing in the protocol. Cool. Thank you, guys.